Hello, I'm the Progressive Disciple. I'm taking a journey through the Bible, and I'm inviting you to join me. Today, we are covering Numbers, chapters 33 through 36. Chapter 33 is a recap of the journey of Israel from Egypt to the plains across from Jericho. It also gives instructions on conquering Canaan. In Numbers chapter 33, verses 52 through 56, it says, "Drive out all the inhabitants of the land before you. Destroy all the carved images and their cast idols, and demolish all their high places. Take possession of the land and settle in it, for I have given you the land to possess. Distribute the land by lot according to your clans. To a larger group, give a larger inheritance, and to a smaller group, a smaller one. Whatever falls to them by lot will be theirs. Distribute it according to your ancestral tribes. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land, those you allow to remain will become barbs in your eyes and a thorn in your side. They will give you trouble in the land where you will live, and then I will do to you what I plan to do to them." I do not see this as abdicating for genocide, but I see this as an allegory for sin. If I let sin fester in me, then sin will plague me for the rest of my life, and I will ultimately have to face the consequences for my sin. So this is a reminder to me to take control of my life and not let sin control me. Chapter 34 is about the boundaries of the Promised Land and the leaders to assist in distributing the land. In Numbers, chapter 34, verses 7 through 9, it says, "For your northern boundary, run a line from the Mediterranean Sea to Mount Hor, and from Mount Hor to Lebo Hamath. Then the border will go to Zedad, continue to Ziphron, and end near Hazah Enron. This will be your boundary on the north." Normally, when a passage speaks to me, it has to do with me, either a reminder not to do sin or a sin that I have committed. And perhaps because this spoke to me, I am breaking my own rule. I do believe that Numbers was put together during the Iron Age, after the return from the Babylonian exile. I see these boundaries as a wish of what the priests of the temple wanted to see Israel become. Of course, the boundaries that are listed here have consequences. We have had wars all over the world due to boundaries. Dispute over boundaries has caused all kinds of war throughout the world. And it looks like a war is going on in Israel right now due to some interpretation or misinterpretation of boundaries and rights. I don't want to take sides in this video, but I think it is a reminder that care must be taken when discussing boundaries. Chapter 35 is about the cities for the Levites, the cities of refuge, and laws regarding murder and manslaughter. It also sets the precedent that no ransom is to be paid for murder or manslaughter. In Numbers, chapter 35, verses 22 through 25, it says, "But if, without enmity, someone suddenly pushes another or throws something at them unintentionally, or without seeing them, drops on them a stone heavy enough to kill them, and they die, then since the other person was not an enemy, and no harm was intended, the assembly must judge between the accused and the avenger of blood according to these regulations. The assembly must protect the one accused of murder from the avenger of blood, and send the accused back to the city of refuge to which they fled. The accused must stay there until the death of the high priest who was anointed with oil. The way this law worked is if a person accidentally kills another person, he is to flee to a city of refuge. The trial must be done to determine whether this was accidental, manslaughter, or intentional murder. A person who committed manslaughter was then sent back to the city of refuge, where they had to spend the time until the priest died. Then they were allowed to return back to their home. If a person was caught outside the city of refuge, then the avenger, the person who was set to take revenge for the killing, was allowed to kill him. This spoke to me because it does show the difference between murder and manslaughter. It also shows that there is grace available, but I still must suffer the consequences of my sin. Chapter 36 is about Zelophehad's daughter's inheritance. If they married outside their tribal clan, then the land would go from one clan to another. In Numbers, chapter 36, verses 6 through 9, it says, "This is what the Lord commands for Zelophehad's daughters. They may marry anyone they please, as long as they marry within their father's tribal clan. No inheritance in Israel is to pass from one tribe to another, for every Israelite shall keep the tribal inheritance of their ancestors. Every daughter who inherits land in any Israelite tribe must marry someone in her own father's tribal clan, so that every Israelite will possess the inheritance of their ancestors. No inheritance may pass from one tribe to another, for each Israelite tribe is to keep the land it inherits." I don't think that this really should have been an issue, since the land would have stayed within Israel. But God recognized that the cultural norms of the time created a problem. This is a reminder to me that God understands our cultural norms, and that God expects me to abide within the cultural norms that I currently live under. So, this is my take of Numbers, chapters 33 to 36. So I must admit, I was surprised by Numbers. When I'd read it before, it was just a straight-through reading, and I found the book to be kind of boring. But now that I've read it and looked at it in depth, I have found that there is a lot of meat on these bones. It's kind of like traveling in Wyoming. You can get on Highway 80 and go across the state and see the sagebrush and the land and think it was a boring state. But of course, if you go into it in depth, you'll see Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons, the Buttes and all that, and you would find that it is, in fact, a very beautiful state. And that's how I feel about Numbers. I also have taken on something a little different. I looked at Numbers and I pulled out my favorite scripture. I also went back to the other chapters that I have gone over and pulled out my favorite verses from them as well. In Numbers, my favorite verse comes from chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. This, I think, is one of the most beautiful passages that I have found in Numbers. Since we are at the end of the chapter, it is time to have a lottery. If you're new to my channel, please know that I don't follow the chapters in order, but I select them by random. And so it is time to find out the next chapter that I am going to study. So I'm going to empty the slips into the hat, and I'm going to select the next book that we are going to study. And the next book that we're going to study is the Epistles to the Hebrews. This has 13 chapters, so this should take, at least, should take about three videos. I ask for you to like and subscribe to my videos. Also comment. I would love to respond to your comments. I am the Progressive Disciple, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.